Hello, good day. In today's lecture, we are going to talk about a common mistake that we make in understanding the elasticity through the slope of the demand curve. Generally, the slope of the demand curve actually is understood as an elasticity. Like, say, for example, sometimes when the curves are flatter, we think elasticity is maybe higher. And when the curves are steeper, generally we think that elasticity is lower. But there is no relationship like this between the slope and elasticity. The slope of the linear curve that as you have got on the screen remains the same all along the curve. But as far as elasticity is concerned, elasticity changes. Like say, for example, you can see here, the elasticity is actually, like if you look at here, elasticity is here is greater than one. Like say, for example, if you look at the upper part of the demand curve, the elasticity is greater than one. And at the lower part of the demand curve, the elasticity is less than one. And similarly, at the middle part of the demand curve, the elasticity is equal to 1. So it means that the elasticity and the slope cannot be the same concept because the slope remains the same across the demand curve or the linear curve. But elasticity is actually changing on the upper part, the lower part, and the middle part. And technically as well, like if you look at the formula of the slope is actually, is just the change in quantity due to change in price. Whereas the elasticity is actually the elasticity of demand is a percentage change in quantity demand due to percentage change in price that can be written as like this. Like say, for example, here, what we actually do here, we actually multiply this slope with the ratio of P into Q. So it means that technically, if you compare this formula with this formula, you will find that they are not the same thing. And that is what basically we need to understand. The elasticity does not remain the same along the demand curve, whereas it varies. And how does it vary? Like, say, for example, if you see on the upper part of the demand curve, the curve is more elastic than the lower part. Why this happens? This happens because of the behavior of the individuals. Like, say, for example, theoretically, like, say, for example, if you are at this particular point, you have got so less quantity and the price is so high. So it means that if you find out the ratio between the P and Q, this has to be greater than 1. And if you assume this elasticity, this slope to be -1, so that will actually, that will result in the greater elasticity, that will actually, the total answer will come more than 1. And here, if you look at compare this point, say for example, here, at this particular point, the quantity is greater than price. Here, the price is greater than quantity, like, the upper point. So you may have got the other ratio, like say, for example, here, the ratio is less than 1. So when this ratio is less than 1, and if you multiply this, say, for example, -1, you get the less elasticity, less than 1. Theoretically as well, that makes sense. Because like here, if you are here, say, for example, here you have got so much less quantity of something that you basically are buying at very high price. A little change in the price or a little lower down, like when the price goes little down, you basically feel more enticed and more attracted towards the goods because you're already having a very small consumption of that good. But as you move along the demand curve, your consumption of or availability of the quantity increases. So when you have got more quantity available of something, like, you just feel less attracted when its price falls. So the elasticity actually keep changing along the demand curve, whereas the slope does not change. So there is a very much like, a catch. Sometimes then when we try to understand elasticity with the slope, we just make a mistake. So we should not be confusing the elasticity with the demand. The demand and elasticity are the two separate concepts, at least for the linear curves. Thank you for joining us.